we are here today. We've got a guest speaker. We are going to be listening to her story and how she got out of the situation that she found herself in.
I didn't really grow up with my parents, so I grew up mostly in foster care. At the age of 9, I do mention being actually raped at the age of 9 by a girl at the time. So for me, that triggered a lot of questions at such a young age. So in my teenage years then, when boys started showing me attention, I played on that. So for me, it was affirming. I wanted help, but I didn't want to expose myself too much, if that makes sense. But in the end, I think the last time he put his hands on me, I think I just had enough.
A lot of the story, I mean, she just went very, very brief. A lot is in the book, but you can heal. You opened up about the most sensitive personal experiences. What do you think is the reason most people tend to hide these kind of experiences?
I will talk about, obviously, my reasons, which I do believe is everybody's reasons for hiding, their experience. For me, mainly, it was shame, fear of, the judgments of others. You said it as well. I also feared not being believed, so I didn't think anyone would believe what I've been through. And then there's guilt. Bizarrely enough, you do, even the victim still carries some sort of guilt that they think it's their fault. So, and you don't want someone else to tell you that, though it's not true, but there are people who still think that it's your fault. There will still be someone who will say, oh, but why did you do that? Why did you have to do that? Why did you? So the questions, obviously, and also the questions, you don't want to be questioned over certain things that have happened to you that are so painful. And then yet people still want to question, why did you stay? Why did you do that? And that's why people generally hide, because they don't want anyone to just make a whole lot of a big, not a big deal, but to make to make them feel worse than they already feel about themselves and about the situation. So then you hide, and then again
to
there's
be traumatized
exactly
more and more.
So you'll and people have a way of even without saying, you can share your story, and the way someone would look at you sometimes in disgust, sometimes in disbelief, and you don't want that. You don't want to have to go through it. So you just hide. The easiest way is just to hide.
Just to hide. And also, I think the other thing that could be the reason is society at large. They don't know about those people who have not experienced these things. They don't really know that these things do happen. Some people grew up in a bubble, and everything was okay for them, and then so they tend to, as you said, to question, and also they tend to, maybe their reaction to what you are saying, even if they believe, but their reaction, sometimes they can shun you, sometimes they can reject you, they don't want you near them. It's like you are now a second-class citizen. I think a lot of people, sometimes society needs, unless you are exposed or you work in the environment where you get these people coming maybe for help, then you know that these things do really happen out there. So sometimes it's just a lack of knowledge on the part of the society at large. So education is really needed, so people would know, and also people would know, and then they would know how to also take care of their own children, so they can protect them from being victimized as well. Perpetrators have a way of, they don't, it starts with you, and then it extends to your children most of the time, or people you live with. And then it happened in your life, according to the book when I read it, that the abuse was extended to your daughter first, and then later on to when it really got worse, your son also experienced it. It felt on the book, it felt like your daughter was pushed into mothering protective because she felt for you. And then your son developed behavioral problems that were picked up at school. You said you were called to meetings. And then during that time when you split from him, I think he had visitation access to the child where he would pick him up. And then there was a time when I think he became physical with the child. When he came home, he didn't want to go the next time, and he did tell you. You know, what advice can you give to people maybe that are maybe in this kind of situation where they really want out, but they have children with these people? How can they protect their children, or they are still living with the person, the perpetrator, but they are contemplating maybe, you know, leaving, and for those who are leaving and with perpetrator, they are not even thinking of leaving. The dangers that they could be you know, exposing their children to, you know, and then they can be tolerant to what is happening, but the children are being damaged. And then for those who are maybe at the verge of, you know, contemplating leaving, but then they are still there. And then for those who are gone, but then the perpetrator has visitation problems, allowances. How can you advise people on, you know, those three types of people?
I think with you know, with abusive partners, for me, it's you have to save yourself and you have to save your children. So if the person is contemplating leaving, I would say leave. Again, it's easier said than done. I've myself wanted to leave so many times. But then we always find excuses. We've always find reasons to stay. But in the end, you have to face the reality that this person is actually not right for you, and they are not right for the children, whether they are their children or children you've had yourself from a previous relationship. It is just not right. No matter the excuses, you know, if the person keeps doing it and doing it and doing it, obviously they're not taking the safety, your safety and the safety of your children into consideration. So therefore, it's best to leave. Whether it is for a period of time for the person for the abusive partner to get themselves together, then, you know, it has happened that, you know, abusive partners have got themselves together and then they don't do it again. But then you have to kind of leave that person be and also see for themselves that they have actually damaged that relationship that you had. So for those who are still in those relationships, I would say get counseling because there is a deeper issue as to why a person wants to stay in that relationship. I think for those who are outside of the relationship, it's always a case of, oh, you should leave, or why did you? But then the issue is deeper than the person moving, because you can leave that relationship. But then because you haven't dealt with that deeper issue, you will either go back to that partner or you will find a different partner that just looks like the partner you've left, because the issue is deeper. And when I say deep, I'm talking spiritually. Deep is not, you know, it has to do with childhood. It has to do with abuse that you've experienced yourself as well. So it is best to seek for counseling. And also find a trusted friend whom you can confide in, because the more you keep to yourself, the more the abuser is able to manipulate you. But once the truth is out there and you are able to involve people into talking to him and talking to you, then the person is also held accountable for what they are doing to you. And, you know, why not change their behavior? But once you get counseling, I think you are able to reflect on the reason why you are in that relationship, the reason why you're staying, all the reasons that you give yourself, you're able to put them out there, and then for someone to feed them back to you. And at times when you're able to talk and someone else reflects your thoughts back to yourself, and you're like, that sounds a bit silly.
Yeah.
Then you from there, you are able to build your strength. You are able to build your understanding, and then walk away, you know, and really realize that you are not lost anything. You know, you have given your all to one person, and the person didn't appreciate it. Therefore, you are now going to heal yourself in a way that will enable someone else to love you the right way, and love your children the right way. I think at times we're too quick to stay for the children, but you're using your children as an excuse. Your children are actually, if we sit down with children and actually ask them, do you enjoy what you're seeing? Children will tell you no. You know, my daughter, I remember my daughter so many times telling me why can I have a different dad? Can you just go? You know, my daughter will question me. And at the back of those questions is the fact that you're not being treated right, mom. You know, so don't use children as an excuse. And I know abusive partner will use children as an excuse, as in, oh, but if you go, how am I going to see them? I want us to be together. So this all plays a part, but children are better off seeing us as single parents, happy single parents, than being together and being miserable and you know, and depressed and everything.
They can because abusers are very manipulative. And they can use the children to manipulate you into staying. And also they can use the children to control you as well. And, you know, coming to that, there was something that you mentioned in your book that gave me the impression that he was exercising conquer and divide, kind of, which is very narcissistic. They conquer and divide. That's how they control you, because they want to corner you. And then once they corner you, there's nobody else for you. Then it's them that you will look for help from. And then that's when they really get you, because there's nobody else now. And it felt like he was trying to get your daughter to his side. But it didn't work, because, you know, I remember you said he tested your daughter and said, who is the boss in the who's the king or boss, something like that, of the house. And she said, my mom is, because she's doing everything. And that was really very honest. It's just the honesty of a child. But most of the time in this type of abusive relationship, they can manage to get the kids on their side, and then the kids hate the person who's being victimized. And then that now gives them a crowd, because the outside already are agreeing with them, because they don't know. Because these people outside, they are very nice. They are very, what they do, what they are in the house is not what they are out there. So out there, they are charming, they are everything, everybody likes them. They are a people's person, you know, the life and soul of the party. And then inside, they are, a raging wolf. And then people never see what you see inside. So with the children, they can buy the children by giving them gifts, buying them stuff, and the things that you say no to the children because they are not good to them, they say yes. And then you find that divide and conquer, and then you end up really falling out with your children. And that's one reason why people should really get out if they can, because it goes deeper. The children are getting they are getting confused, and then they think that the perpetrator is the good person because he's being good to them in a way, and then but he's still a perpetrator, and then he's doing the other stuff to their mom. So it's something that people need to think about, that you don't stay because of the children. You have to move out for the sake of the children as well. All right, the next question. When you fell pregnant for the first time, you said you were in a church, and then you were serving in the youth, I think.
Children.
Yeah, in the children's ministry. And then because the guy obviously wanted you to abort the child, but then you didn't, which was good, but you kept it. And then so you knew that the tummy would be bulging very soon. So you opened up to the pastor, who was a lady, you said, and then the reaction that you got was really not helpful. So, you ended up leaving the church as a result, because you were stepped down from what you were doing. And it was like, how on earth can you do this? And so, just briefly, because we do have these things in the church, in Christianity, where, it's like, it can even confuse a perception of how God is sometimes,
Yes.
this loving, forgiving, wonderful God, and then who doesn't seem to be the same, in just briefly, how really did it affect your relationship with God at the time?
So it did really affect my relationship with God at the time, because I couldn't, like you said, I couldn't understand that a pastor would talk to me in such manner and with so much, I wouldn't go as far as saying hatred, but it was very, very harsh, and there was no love in everything she had said. There was no love. So I just, and being taken off of the ministry, for me, it was very crushing. I took it, and then obviously when I turned my back on church, it was very, it was hard, because church had become a family.
Yeah.
But I just thought, you know what, if people are like that, God must be like that. So I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do my own thing. And yes, that's why
I think we're coming back to that there's lack of knowledge in not only in the wider secular society, but also in the church. Sometimes we can really be even more harsher than God is. And she could have aborted that child to please maybe those who would have been disappointed on her as a Christian, but then the child would be dead, and that would have been sin, before God. So, that as Christians, we need to look at, the love of God that is, so large, and nothing surprises God, and nothing makes him love us more and love us less. Nothing. The sins that we commit to God is just like, just bring them to me and then you are mine again. That's all. And then, so sometimes the way we try to represent God is really undoing the good that he is, and in some life. So the church, I think, as a church, we need also some enlightenment as to how to deal with people, because we don't know. People come from different backgrounds. They have experienced things that we have no clue what they are. So when they do things, it's because of those other things. So we need to bear in mind before we conclude, or before we judge or act in a certain way. Okay, so last but not least, what is your understanding of forgiveness, especially when it comes to abusive people? Should victim forgive and remain with them? What are the consequences of answering a Hoover? A Hoover is like when you leave and then you come back because you did that. What are the consequences of going and then leaving and then coming back again, taking the person back after you left them?
So forgiveness is essential to healing. For me, I don't think I would have healed completely if I hadn't forgiven. So for me, my understanding of forgiveness is really and truly you setting yourself free from the offense that has happened. Is you understanding that no matter the offense, it doesn't define you, and it doesn't. And you shouldn't allow it to affect your life and to affect your future. Yes, victims should forgive their abusers. Just forgiveness doesn't mean you have to go back. So understand that you can forgive and not want to be back into that place, which is toxic for you anyway. So you can forgive, but also I would say for me and for many, understand that you forgive the other person, but learn also to forgive yourself. And I think the journey that I had taken, I had found it very hard to forgive myself. So you have to let go, and give it to God. As a Christian, give it to God is you know, it sounds very cliche, but it's very true. To take everything that is weighing your heart down and giving it to God. It's key. The Hoover, you said Hoover taking, yes. So I think going back and forth, you know, as a victim to going back to the abuser, it just gives the abuser more power. Because then he knows that no matter what he does, you will come back. You will come back. And this is where, for me, I said to you, I had to build my strength to know that when I go, I'm not going to come back. Because when you come back, you know, you can find yourself even in a worse situation, because the person understands that you have no willpower. You are not strong enough, which is not true, but that's the understanding of the abuser. And therefore, I will make sure that you are even more crippled by the fact that you decided to come back, because then it's you decided to come back, meaning you enjoying this, meaning you clearly deserve this. So they will abuse you even more and in worse ways.
You know, perpetrated, especially narcissistic people with narcissistic personality disorder, that is, they have a tendency of being nice when someone has left. Then they become this nice person that they were in the first place when they started the relationship. And then once the person comes back, they become the wolf again. And then it always goes higher and higher. If it was 50%, then it becomes 70. Then each time they come back, it goes higher. Each time it goes. That means in their mind, which is a bit disordered, your coming back is saying, I am here and giving you permission to abuse me. That's what they get when you come back. So they don't get it as you having forgiven them and maybe loving them. They take it as you now giving them permission to abuse you even more. And that's why they even increase the ways that they are abusing you with. So and why people come back most of the time is what they call I think it's cognitive dissonance, where people are, the victim is having this confusion. So it's like, because they've been gaslit a lot by the perpetrator. The perpetrator was making them question themselves during the time that they were living together, to a point where they were confused about their reality. So the perpetrator would abuse them. And then when they say, why are you doing this? Then they say, you are imagining it. You are high maintenance. You are, you know, you are complaining too much. You know, all those things. You are too sensitive, you know, things like that. And then making you question what you are concerned about, what they are doing to you. And then that makes you, when you leave, that during that period when you are gone, you start those, what they were saying to you, that you are oversensitive, you are overreacting, they play in your mind to a point where you now see yourself as to blame, because that person was just being himself, and that's how he is, and there wasn't that much on it, and you know, you blame yourself and then you go back. So when you see people going back, it's because of the cognitive dissonance that and because of the gaslighting that they received, that led to the cognitive dissonance. So they go back because they are not sure of where they are, and this is when you need help, because when you have help, as someone who knows about maybe abusive personalities, then they can tell you what's going on with you, and then they can tell you that no, you are not going crazy, this is true, you need to go out. And then that's where we recommend that people need to get help. And then the last, I think, question, would you say that people who experience trauma in childhood tend to pick marriage partners that are abusive?
I would say yes, because like I said earlier, you make you know, childhood trauma obviously is real, And out of that broken place, we do tend to make broken choices. So you are not clearly, you are, you know, I would say you're not whole enough to make like right decisions for yourself.
Yeah.
So you tend to gravitate towards what you have experienced, towards what feels comfortable, but in a toxic way, comfortable, if you see what I mean. And this is where, again, you know, as children, having children and being in those sort of relationship, you have to be very aware that you are damaging your children, and it's easier to repair broken children than to repairing adults who are obviously anchored in their brokenness. So, you know, yes, there is a clear relation with relationship with being you know, a child who has been through trauma and then
and also because as a child you were controlled, and then whatever environment you were with, so it's not always through parents, it's where you grew up. You know, the caregivers are not always parents. You know, and then so they were controlling, and then so you that control, that being controlled and not being fully yourself and not being sure of yourself is part of you. So you are comfortable with the situation where somebody would be making decisions for you because that's how you grew up. Somebody would be assuring you that you are this is right. You wouldn't see something and just say it's right. You have to have somebody backing it up, and then you go to, you know, such a relationship. So, and that's the reason why people have to have help, professional help with their backgrounds. You know, so that when they move into adulthood, you know, I know that in Africa, you know, these things are not available. You know, and we do see these things happening, that people come from an abusive father was abusing the mother, then they married an abusive husband, and then their children marry into abusive, you know, we see it, but then we just don't know because these things are not quite spoken about openly in our culture and stuff like that. But, you know, it does affect how you see life. And then you become comfortable with somebody who's treating you bad. And then somebody who's good to you, you think, you question yourself because you are a giver. And then especially with people with narcissistic personality disorder, they are takers. So they push you to give everything, all of the good things about you, your virtues, your values and everything. And then you are readily there because you come from that background where you were giving and giving and giving. So you want somebody who you can give, continue to give. And then, so yeah, it does affect. And then that's where we need, you know, help. And as Paulette has said, that she didn't find the counseling very helpful. And the reason why she didn't find the counseling very helpful, as a mental health worker, I know the difference. Counseling is counseling, but there are different types and styles of counseling. And then we have a normal counseling, we have CBT, we have all sorts of counseling. And most people go to CBT when they have trauma, and CBT won't address trauma at all. And that's why people clash with counselors, because the CBT counselor will not even touch anything to do with trauma. They are not skilled. So you need a specialized counselor. So when you go for counseling, you ask the person, the counselor, are you a trauma specialist? Before you sign up for that, because it's just going to be like, what am I doing here? So because the trauma specialist knows how to address those hidden trauma, bring it up, and then deal with it and take it away. They are specialized in that area. Even psychiatrists, it's not all of them that can deal with trauma. Trauma is a speciality, so people have to be specialized in that. And when they come to us in mental health, these people, they come in A&E, and then we do a thorough assessment as mental health professionals. And then we know that this is trauma. We know where to refer the person. We don't refer them to IAPT or just CBT. We know they are not going to be helped. So we send them to a specialist trauma people. So this is just so you know that, you know, it's not every counseling that is going to help you. And sometimes even in church, you find that maybe it's just like Christian counseling, and the person doesn't have, they don't have qualifications in trauma. So, you know, it may not help. You know, God is not limited. Some people can be helped, but you need a speciality in these things. Yeah, so that's all I think for us today. And then what are your aspirations? What are you aspiring to do?
So I do believe that I am called to work with broken women.
Yeah.
And I have started,
Yeah.
you know, I have started more or less to do that.
Yeah.
Focus on the youth.
Yeah, young
focus
people.
on the youth.
Yeah.
Yes. So those are my aspirations, to just see the next generation being free from toxicity and making sure they are making the right choices for themselves. I would not say that I want to write another book. That's not what I would like to do. The book is, I'm going to edit it professionally because this is just my work.
Yeah.
You know, without, I did get a bit of help, but I'm going to get a professional editor to work on it.
Yeah.
And also I am going to get it translated in French because I do speak French. And then there's loads of French, you know, I've taken part in different shows where people speak French, and I have this desire to see the book in French.
Yeah.
So I will do that.
Yeah.
And really and truly, I just want to see people being set free.
Set free.
And find strength in, you know, in their communities, really, rather than trying to battle on their own, which I've tried for so long, out of pride. But now that I've found my little tribe of strong women, I'm really aspiring to see other women being delivered and set free in their lives as well. Yes.
Yeah, that's very good. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very
I
much.
think we really gained a lot today, you know, from you know, something that is very personal. It's not something that you read in a book. It's something that is really very, very personal. And how can people get hold of your book?
So the book is available on Amazon, wherever you live. If you just go on Amazon, you will find the book Behind the Smile by Paulette Montero. And if you do need any help and want to get in touch with me, the best way to do that is on Instagram. My Instagram is I am X Paulette. So I am as in I am, and then X, and then my name Paulette. You can just contact me on Instagram. Otherwise, I've got a blog, which is called Best Believe. And you can also contact me on the inbox there, and whatever help you need, I'm here if I can help, and also pray with you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for listening. And we are now at the end of our interview. Wow, that was really good. That was so, so good. You know, it can be done. And, you know, Paulette today is free. We are all free. We've all been through this, and we won't be talking about our lives, all of us today, but, you know, it's Paulette's time. But, you know, it is doable, and you can come out, and you can really not just come out to help others. And help is there. If you are not sure you are in this kind of a situation, as Paulette has given us her Instagram address, you can contact her, or you can contact myself as well. If you wanted to speak to her, I can pass you on to her. You know, we are on Instagram as well as Sarah Moloi, and also on Facebook, and also website, just Sarah Moloi, it will pop up, and you can pop down a question there. If it needs Paulette, then I can forward it to her as well. Thanks for listening, and I hope you really got a lot out of this, and you know now how it looks like. You know how abuse looks like. We didn't talk much about, you know, how an abuser looks like. You know, the red flags and all that, but we will get a time for that, as you know, the next interview. Maybe we will talk about that and concentrate on the, you know, how to identify a potential abuser, because it's not every man. So we don't want to come across as men haters. We don't hate men. We know that abusers are also abusing because they also had issues in their childhood. Nobody just wakes up and start to abuse people. They abuse because something happened in their childhood. And then so, but how can you identify a potential abuser? Because the red flags will always be there. And then we just kind of like forgive until it's too late. You are now even married, have children. But you saw it from day one. So we will discuss this in our next interview. So for now, bye-bye.